This is going to be a video to help you find the missing angle in a right triangle. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to use one of the three trig functions that we've learned. And we remember those trig functions with the phrase SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA means the sine of alpha is equal to the opposite over hypotenuse. The cosine of alpha is going to be equal to the adjacent over hypotenuse. And the tangent of alpha is going to be equal to the opposite over adjacent. Now, how can I tell what angles I'm using, or side lengths I'm using? If this triangle has alpha right here, the opposite side is going to be the opposite side of the alpha. The hypotenuse on a right triangle is always going to be opposite the right angle, and this is the side that's adjacent over here to the left because that's right next to alpha. So in order to do this problem, if I look at alpha, I know the adjacent side to alpha and the hypotenuse. Since I know adjacent and hypotenuse, I'm going to use cosine. Let me get a pen and show you how I do this. So for this problem, my pen all set up, I'm going to use cosine. I know that cosine of alpha is going to be equal to 16, because that's the adjacent side, divided by 28. Now in math, I undo addition with subtraction. I undo multiplication with division. I undo squaring something by taking the square root of that thing. I can also undo taking the cosine of something by taking the cosine inverse. So in this problem, I want to get alpha all by itself because that's what I'm trying to find. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cosine inverse of both sides, like this. So the cosine inverse of cosine alpha, and I symbolize cosine inverse with a little -1 sign up there. So cosine inverse of cosine alpha, my letter isn't quite right, is going to be the same as cosine inverse of 16 over 28. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, on the left side, my cosine and my cosine inverse, they just undo each other. So on the left side of this equation, I'm just going to be left with alpha. On the right side of the equation, I'm going to find out what the cosine inverse of 16 over 28 is. And I'm going to do that by using a calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the inverse sign, and then cosine, and then go 16 divided by 28 equals, and it's 55.15. So my answer to this problem is going to be 55.15 degrees. And that is how you find the angle of a right triangle when you know two side lengths.